Hey there, Internet. My name's Luxander, and today we're doing something a little bit out of the ordinary because I'm going to tell you some things about how you can be a good retail customer. Essentially, I spend half of my waking hours at a gas station doing retail work, and I wanted to tell you how you can be a good retail customer so that I don't have to continue dealing with bad retail customers. This is not going to solve my problem, but it will help me feel better. And like I said, most of my experience with this is in the context of being at a gas station, but I think that a lot of these things will translate over to basically any other time that you have a cashier that you're dealing with. The first one here is about the beginning of your interaction. So let's say you have gone around the store and you've gotten whatever stuff you want to buy, and you're walking up to the register. And if I, the person behind the register, say like, hey, how's it going? Or hello, you do not ignore that and say nothing or come up and immediately just say, I want this, give me that. This is an interaction between two human beings. So if I say hello, you say, apparently nothing. Cool. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. I'll go fuck myself. Thanks. Cool. Note, the correct thing to do, if someone says hi, you say hi, and don't just immediately bark at them what you want from them or say nothing as you get your money together. The correct thing to do is to say hello back. American culture is kind of weird in that if someone says, how's it going, that can sort of be a stand-in for hello, so it is not always required that you answer the question. But if I say, hey, how's it going, you don't ignore the hey part at the very minimum. You don't have to tell me how you're doing, because genuinely I don't care, but please at least acknowledge that I'm a human being. Thanks. Cool. Another tip in a similar vein is that you cannot be on the phone while you're interacting with a cashier. Like, that's real messed up. It's real uncool. If you are on the phone and you find yourself needing to go into the store, it is perfectly acceptable for when you walk up to the counter to say, just 1 minute, I have to do a transaction, and put your phone down, or say, I'll call you right back. That is also a thing you can do. Sometimes you get a phone call in the middle of your transaction, and that's okay. Just like apologize, say, sorry, I'm gonna have to answer this. You just apologize, acknowledge that you're like talking to a human being. If you're having a really important conversation, I understand this happens sometimes, like you're on the phone with your doctor or whatever. At the very, very minimum, you have to say sorry and acknowledge the cashier. You have to, at the very minimum, show a little bit of contrition for the fact that you're doing something rude. I understand that there's priorities, but still, this is not a situation where you should just entirely ignore the fact that a person is offering you a service and performing some task for you. You need to at least have some respect for that fact. I'm not a vending machine. Thank you. Here's another one. I feel like this one's a pretty easy one. Shouldn't be too hard. It's not, it's not imposing on your phone calls or anything like that. If you're using cash, and especially if you're paying with change, you put the money in my hand. You don't toss it on the counter, especially your change, and especially if you haven't counted the change. That's a whole other thing. We'll get to that in a second. If you're ready to hand me money, you hand it. You put it, especially if my hand is out. It's very disrespectful. We're having a transaction. I'm sorry if you feel like you are above giving money to a prole. That's fine. I don't actually care, though. You need to be respectful enough to hand me the money, especially the change. Hand it to me. But getting back on that change thing, here's another one. If you are bringing in an absurd amount of change to pay with, count it before you come to me, or help me count it. Do not drop a bunch of change on the counter and just expect me to count all of it, because that's rude. Just come in prepared for your transaction. That's all I want. Another one. Don't come up to the register, tell me what kind of cigarettes you want, and as I turn around to get your cigarettes, walk off to somewhere in the store to go collect all the rest of your stuff that you were going to get. We are going to have one single transaction where you come up to my register, I ring up the stuff that you want, I get the other stuff that you want, we do it all at once. Do not do a drive-by to get me to just, you just grab that while I go do this. No, I have other customers in the store. I have other stuff I need to be doing. I'm not going to stand up there with your cigarettes and wait for you to get done shopping so that you can come back. Do not do that. You're trapping me at the register, and I don't appreciate it. It's also not really polite for you to kind of yell what you want from halfway towards me as you're walking up. Like, first of all, you're skipping the hello part, which we need to do first to honor the tradition of the interaction, and It's just you're yelling at me from halfway across the store. Don't yell at me from halfway across the store. This is another one. If you are over by the coffee area or the sodas and we're like out of tea or something like that, be a damn human being and walk up to my register, or at least close to the register, and say like, hey, excuse me, there's no tea. Could you make more tea? Do not shout at me from all the way across the store about how there's no tea. No tea. Don't do that. If you're buying a restricted product and I ask for your ID, don't get an attitude about it. My job is to enforce the law in that particular instance, and I do not want to get arrested or fined for you. Do not give me attitude if I ask for your ID. And if you don't have your ID, don't try to make up a bunch of excuses. It's not legal for me to sell to you if I've asked for your ID and you don't have it. I'm going to just take a moment to do like a little tiny PSA here, because I think a lot of people don't know this. It is federal law, if you're buying cigarettes at the very least, that you must look 27 or older or I have to ID you. It's not like, I think you're underage, I have to ID you. No, legally, if you look under 27, I have to ID you. I've had people ask me like, oh, do I look like I'm under 18? Oh, this is a gripe that's very specific to the environment of being in a gas station. If you are coming inside to prepay gas, or if you had some kind of problem, or if you need a receipt on the pump that you were on, look at the pump number before you come inside. If you looked and then you forgot on your way in, I'm not going to have a problem with that. But if you simply refuse to look, I don't understand. I just don't get this one. Here's a quick one. Do not try to break a $100 bill at a gas station. Gas stations like mine get robbed on a fairly regular basis. They are required to keep the amount of cash in their drawer below a certain amount, so that a lot of the time you cannot break a $100 bill. It would wipe out the whole drawer, and it makes me feel like a huge dick to have to tell people all the time that I don't have the money to break it. Go to a bank. Thanks. I think I'm finally running out of things to complain about. However, I will also add, and I will wrap this up here, that you should not hit on someone while they are working. I say this because I have several girl, female, woman employees, coworkers who are pretty consistently receiving creepy comments from dudes. Don't hit on people in the service industry. Don't touch them without permission. Don't make sexual comments about them. Be a decent human being. I think a lot of this can be fruitfully wrapped up with just be respectful of the fact that you are having an interaction with a human being. Have a little bit of consideration for the stuff that they are going through, how difficult and fast their job is. Don't take up a bunch of their time. And just generally don't treat them like they are below you simply because they work a job that seems to you to be menial labor. I may be replaced with a vending machine robot thing at some point, but for the time being, I am still the one who is providing you a service which is, at this time, kind of essential to the functioning of society. What would you do without me if your credit card wouldn't work at the pump? People in retail have really hard jobs. You should be considerate of the fact that they get paid less than a living wage to do something that is still very important to the structure of society, important to the structure of your life. Please respect the fact that we do have expertise within our own stores and with the different things that we all have to interact with together. Our job does require skill. At the very minimum, we have to be able to handle you all day. Yeah, there's some tips about how to be a good customer in retail, or at least how not to be a bad customer in retail. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for letting me get some things off of my chest. If you did like this video, please give me pretty analytics to look at and comments to read. Find me on Patreon, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, and I really hope that you have an okay day. Bye! Shout out to all my lovely patrons, especially The Gay Agenda, Amber Music, David Walter, Jenny Swindles, Elijah Lane, Jess Zendrex, Gretchen Becker, Wellington Marcus, Nicolette Klassen, Alex Badilla, Mr. Atheist, Misty, and Pine Snake.